Big fight going down tonight, Saturday, March 1st at the Barclays Center, as reigning WBA World Lightweight Champion Gervonta Tank Davis will look to defend his title against Lamont Roach. New York Post contributor Brian Fonseca, who's also the co-host of The Mandatory, will be at the fight, and he joins me now to preview the big bout. Brian, what's going on?
Very excited. It's always an event when Gervonta Davis is fighting, even when he's a minus 2,000 favorite.
Yeah, he's a big favorite in this one, an overwhelming favorite, but we know how entertaining he can be with his record and the amount of knockouts that he's had thus far. Now, Brian, considering Davis and Roach's previous amateur encounters in 2011, they had two of those, both won by Davis under contentious circumstances. How might this shared history influence their strategies and mental preparations for this professional showdown?
I don't think for Tank it's going to mean anything. I'm not sure if it'll mean anything for Lamont Roach, even though he lost those two and he's trying to get them back. And for me, I don't care because amateur boxing is just totally different game where you're trying to really outpoint your opponent. You only have 3 rounds. And the way Gervonta Davis boxes, it's not really conducive to the amateur style. It's very much a pro style. And he's not somebody who throws a ton of punches. When he lands, he lands. And it's typically not, at least at this point in his career, not to make him sound like he's old or anything, but the knockouts do come after, like well after the 3rd round at times. So no, I don't think the amateur experience is going to have any bearing on this. Maybe it'll make things personal, and there's some DMV ties that are interesting here, in terms of where the guys are from and things of that nature. With Gervonta Davis being from Baltimore, with Lamont Roach being from DC, that's fun, and the crowd should be fun. But no, I don't think the amateur experience is going to have a ton to do with this.
All right, so the amateur experience has nothing to do with this, but you talked about the fact that Gervonta Davis is an overwhelming favorite here. You said minus 2,000 is what you saw. Lamont Roach, the underdog here. Is there anything that Roach can do in your eyes, any strategies that can allow him to defy the odds and secure a victory over Davis?
Yeah, not what he did at the media workout. I found this a little befuddling. But Wednesday at Gleason's gym, we were there for the media workout, and Lamont Roach was there hitting the pads, and he and his team seemed to be emphasizing power. They really believe they can knock out Gervonta Tank Davis. I don't think they can. I don't know how somebody who is coming up from 130 with 10 career knockouts and approximately 27 pro fights is going to knock out somebody who's never been knocked out before, who is a monster at 135, who's been a champion at 140, even though he doesn't love to fight in that weight class, it seems. But I think you want to hit Gervonta Davis in between the power shots with jabs and straights and setting him up and hitting him with quick shots and countering and things of that nature, using your height, using your reach, of which Lamont Roach will have an advantage, albeit slightly. But it's not something unfamiliar to Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis has been fighting bigger guys his whole career, and he finds a way to get his man, finds his way to knock them out. He's very underrated in terms of his in-ring IQ. I think people think Gervonta Davis is just a power puncher, and he delivers in power. But this is not Deontay Wilder. Like, this is somebody, and no disrespect, because I love Deontay Wilder, like as what he accomplished in the heavyweight division and the power that he had. But Gervonta Davis is more well-rounded than that and doesn't get enough credit for it. So if Lamont Roach is trying to go power for power with Gervonta Davis, I think that's a mistake. If he's going to, if that was playing possum and he's going to try to utilize speed and reach and hit him in between, maybe he'll have some luck. But at the end of the day, I don't think he gets this done regardless.
I wonder, Brian, if what you saw at Gleason's the other day is maybe a little bit of gamesmanship and not
Yeah.
trying to tip your hand in where you're going to go. Could be a little bit of that. I do agree with you. Going for the knockout early and trying with the power could be a little bit of a mistake for Roach if he wants to pull the upset. But I always like to ask this when it comes to these fights: what would a victory for either fighter mean for the landscape of the lightweight division, especially considering potential future matchups with other top contenders? What would a victory for Roach or Tank mean in this one?
Well, for Tank, it's the far less interesting outcome from the standpoint of what it means because it's what we expect. And this is supposed to be a stay busy fight. Tank is teasing retirement, and you know how I feel about boxers when they tease retirement. Typically, I don't believe them, Dex. But in this instance, it sounds a little more sincere for reasons we could get to in another segment because we don't have the time for it. But I think with Gervonta Davis, if this is the case, and yes, I think this is leading to something bigger down the line. Hopefully, it's Shakur Stevenson. I think more than any other fight in boxing, what we need right now is Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson. The two are talking to each other back and forth. Shakur seems to really, really want this fight. I think he, frankly, needs this fight. I think Gervonta Davis, probably needs it too, though to a lesser extent, given where he's at, what he's accomplished. But I would like for him to not retire until this fight is done, regardless of who wins. As for Lamont Roach, I mean, it will be the biggest upset in boxing since at least Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua at Madison Square Garden in 2019. And for Lamont Roach, you have a new, like automatically a new star in the lightweight division who's moving up from 130 after being a champion at 130, beating Hector Luis Garcia, somebody that Gervonta Davis just beat. Like Lamont Roach would be out of here. It'd be an amazing win, although he probably would have to do it again in a rematch because there's no doubt in my mind if Gervonta Davis were to shockingly lose this fight, we'll see a rematch at some point.
Oh yeah, if that happens, we're definitely getting a rematch. He's not going to let that slide. He's not going to have that blemish on his record and not try to atone for that. All right, Brian. So based on your analysis, both these fighters, their styles, their record, what's your prediction for this showdown between Davis and Roach?
I want to stress to casual boxing fans who are not too familiar with Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach is a good boxer, legitimately good boxer, but this is not somebody who I expect to beat Gervonta Tank Davis. I think Gervonta Tank Davis is going to win this fight. I think he's going to win it by stoppage. I think he'll do it probably in that round 7, 8, 9 range or something along those lines. He's gotten a bunch of knockouts there recently, maybe the 5 to 8 range even. But I think, Lamont Roach will have his moments. He'll look good early on. Gervonta Davis will be stalking him, and then he'll eventually find him. Like that's typically what happens. Gervonta Davis is somebody who does give up rounds at times, and he doesn't have just a large punch output. He really studies you, tries to figure out your habits, and tries to walk you into some big shots, and eventually he finds you. So I think in those mid to late rounds, he gets it done, and I think it's on to the next after this.
All right, on to the next is what you say. Going with Tank Davis with a stoppage in round 7 to 9 through 9. We'll see if that happens going down at the Barclays Center on March 1st. So a good fight to start off the month of March. We'll see if Tank Davis is able to hold on to his WBA World Lightweight title, heavyweight. Had him moving up a lot of classes there, which is not what
40
he
more
wants to do.
pounds.
What do you say? Yeah, there's a lot of pounds between that. I caught myself. I was like, wait, no, that's not the right class at all whatsoever. That is Brian Fonseca. Check him out as a contributor for us here at New York Post Sports. Also co-hosting the mandatory Great Boxing Show for everybody to check out. Brian, enjoy the fight. We will talk soon, my friend.
Thanks again. Talk soon.